Hi, my name is Alena Wilson with Xactimate Mastery. I usually train contractors how to use Xactimate, but this video today is for the adjusters out there as well. We're going to be taking a look at the new version of Xactimate named X1. So they've made some changes from version 28. They've changed your control center area where you pick out your projects. They've also made big changes to some areas of the estimate and the estimating process. So they've moved some things around and some of the menus look different and other things. Also, this video, I'm going to approach it from a very beginner aspect. So if you've never used Xactimate and you're looking at using X1, feel free to watch this video too, because I'm going to go pretty slow and into all the details of how to create an estimate here in X1. So let's go take a look at the newest version and get started. Let's take a look at the way the X1 version of Xactimate works. So I've already logged into the program and I'm here, and what used to be called the Control Center dashboard is now this just overview dashboard called My Projects, so that you'll see that when you first log in. And you'll also see some other options over here on the left. So if your projects list is blank, you may need to go out to the cloud and go to all projects to see your whole history of projects that you've created. If you're doing an upgrade, if you're upgrading to X1, if you're brand new, of course, you won't have any projects, and that's okay. But for those that are upgrading and wanting to bring over their other projects, you will need to go and pull them off the cloud and check them out just by double clicking or bringing it down by downloading it over here to the right. So that's kind of scary when you first log in. You don't see anything. If you've been using Xactimate, you may need to go out to the cloud and go ahead and get those projects back in here. For those of you that are new, you may just have a blank screen here with no projects, and it's kind of confusing. Where do I go next? So to add a new project, which is where you're going to start today, we're going to use this plus sign right here to the left. Now, of course, in the old version, it would say add new. So you kind of have to intuitively know, oh, this is where I'm going to start. So make a note, the blue plus sign is your friend. That's what's going to start a new project, a new estimate here in Xactimate. So we're actually just going to jump right in and get one started. So I'm going to go ahead and click that plus sign, and this little mini window is going to pop up for us, and you'll see a couple different options here. There are some drop-down windows that you can pull up. We're going to leave it as an estimate. We're not going to use these other options. These are pretty advanced topics that you're going to maybe use down the road. You may never even touch them. I've always just written estimates here in Xactimate, so don't worry about that. I do like to show you that there are drop-down lists, so that if you are confused, you accidentally do drop down one, you know what to choose and that you're in the right spot. So we definitely want to have estimate sitting here. And the next drop-down list down below is carrier or contractor. If you're an independent adjuster, you may have several different other profiles listed here. Today, we're just going to leave it on the carrier profile there and make it really simple and easy. I will talk about the difference between carrier and contractor at the end of this video, but I don't want to just inundate you with a bunch of information up front, so we'll all keep it simple. Let's all do the same thing and be on the same page. So again, estimate up top. And we got carrier as the profile here. Just double check and make sure you've got that selected on your screen. Now, this area here is your project name. It is a date and time stamp. I do not recommend using the date and time stamp whenever you're writing a real project. This should be the homeowner's name. This should be if claim number, possibly. If you want your claim number to print up on every single page of your report, this is a good way to get that to happen by naming it correctly here. So I'm going to actually just use the homeowner's name today, and that's Wilson, which is my last name. Then I'm going to use an underscore and my first name. So I'd invite you to do the same. Clear out that date and time stamp there and name it something meaningful to you. It's a lot easier to search later on. Your projects list won't look like a bunch of gobbledygook with all these numbers. It'll actually mean something to you when you look at your projects list, and a lot of cool things can happen if you name things correctly. So think about that if you're a beginner, how you're going to start your organizational process, or if you're hired by a carrier, they're going to give you some direction, possibly if you're going to start a new project, how to name it. Now, those that are adjusters and they're working in the system with a carrier, or if you're an independent adjuster, or possibly even a contractor who's on a third-party TPA kind of situation, they send you the project. So you probably won't be starting many of your own here, just to clarify. So I would like you to know, though, where the project name originates from, and that is when we start the project here as a user on our end. So lots of information, but the main takeaway is just rename your project when you start one if you're going to start a new one. These notes, I haven't really found them to be very useful, so we're just going to bypass that area right now and go straight to create. When you click create, a new window is going to pop up here in Xactimate. So we're actually having the main part of the program is a separate window. The estimate itself is going to be a separate window. So see that there? I've got the main part of the program open, and then I've got several estimates open. This can be dangerous if you're a beginner because you don't know which estimate you're working on, where you're inputting information. So I actually recommend that you only have one estimate open at a time, and of course the main part of the program, Xactimate, will be running in the background. So actually you just want to have two windows open at one time, and that way it keeps your life a lot simpler and you don't have to worry about entering the incorrect information on the incorrect estimate. All right, now we've got this separate window open, and it just brings us right here to our info inputting screen, which is going to be the claim info, insured info area. So all pretty straightforward. Just go ahead and enter your name, your address, and all the other specifics here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you want to pause the video and just enter this information, feel free to go ahead and do so, and I'll see you back in a bit. Okay, so we went ahead and added the name, the street, phone number, email, and what other fun stuff that you may have here. Now, I do want to point out that you can drop down next to address, and there may be multiple addresses that you need to add. The property is where the loss happened. So don't get confused between property and home if you're doing a residential claim. The home might be the landlord's address, and maybe his property where he has some sort of policy is a rental property or something, just as a weird example. So that's where if you need to enter multiple addresses, you can do that here, but just remember property is where the loss happened. You can also enter multiple phone numbers if needed. Sometimes people have a home and a cell, just to let you know there are other options with this drop down. And I could click same as home here and it will fill that out, which is fun. All right, now down to our date of losses. If you're an adjuster using this program, you will need to fill out your dates correctly according to your carrier guidelines. So I'll leave that up to you to ask your supervisor or a team manager what to do here. But for us, if we're working in a contractor standpoint, we do probably want to match the original statement of losses date of loss. So the adjuster, if you get an estimate from him and you're trying to work with the adjuster on a project, on a repair, then the date of loss needs to match what he has so we know which storm we're addressing, because there can be multiple storms that hit a home before the repair can happen. We've had, wind and hail that the storms just happen boom, 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 and we need to have the correct date of loss so that we know we're speaking apples for apples with the adjuster. Okay, but if you are an adjuster, you need to fill these out according to your carrier guidelines. Next, you're going to add yourself as the claim rep or estimator. As an adjuster, you do want to fill out the claim rep section. You can just drop down the list there. I just click that little arrow, and then you can add yourself here, your name, and all that other fun stuff. If you're a contractor, you can do the same, but you possibly would maybe want to just fill out the estimator field. So you can drop down the list there and fill out yourself as the estimator. So play around with those fields. If you fill out yourself as the claim rep, it will autofill you as the estimator, so don't freak out when you see your name in two places. That's the program doing its work. And adjusters, that's fine for you. But as a contractor, sometimes we'd like to just fill out the estimator there. If you fill out contractor over here, that's not really the spot where a contractor goes. Just trust me, estimator is where the contractors need to be filled out, and you'll be good to go. The rest of these things are not useful unless you must enter a mortgagee or a loan number as you're an adjuster. But that's kind of higher level things that hopefully you're going to get some training on, what they want you to fill out in Xactimate when you get hired by your carrier. They'll tell you what's important in the screen. Contractors, we don't really need to worry about any of that right there. So I'm going to go over the next section, coverage loss. As an adjuster, you're going to have all this information to fill out. So you will have to, if you don't know what the policy limit, all that stuff is, you're going to have to get all that information when you're assigned the estimate. And, a lot of times carriers will pre-fill this out, or if you're a contractor working in a third-party arena, they will fill out this information for you and send you this stuff pre-populated. So I don't want to go too far in here because most of the time it's going to be pre-populated for the adjuster or a contractor working with a third-party firm. But as a regular contractor or an IA, you may have to hand enter some of this stuff. And as a contractor, I would just worry about the claim number and maybe the policy number. Type of loss would be important here. I'm going to choose wind. But other than that, as a contractor, I'm not going to fill out anything. I'm especially not going to fill out the deductible, okay? So I see a common mistake that contractors will make is they'll put $1,000 or whatever the deductible is here. Well, then at the end, your replacement cost value amount will be have this deductible taken out. And as a homeowner, they seem to only see the RCV value, like, oh, that's all I owe is $11,000, when really they owe the deductible. So as a contractor, do not fill out the deductible here. As an independent adjuster or a regular adjuster, you will have to fill all of this out. But again, it should come pre-filled from the carrier in your project that they provide you. All right, so keeping it real basic today, I don't want to get too crazy. Let's just go straight over to parameters here. In the parameters section, what's really important about this section is the price list. The price list is why we pay so much for this program. Now I'm going to use the training price list here because everyone has access to the training price list, and that way everyone can follow along. If you're needing to download a live price list, you must have a live copy of the program. Of course, you can't be in the demo environment. And you can drop down the list here and go to Smart List. The pricing list will pop up here for Select Price List. I want you to always choose all price lists here. We can get a little squirrely if we're looking for something special in the future and you just have the 88310 or whatever zip code you assigned popping up here. Okay, so just trust me, make that note. All price lists for now as a beginner is going to really help you out. Next, we're going to go ahead and request a price list. So if you're in the training environment, you cannot do this. This is shut down. But if you have a live copy of the program, you can go ahead and request the price list. So if you want one from today, you can go ahead and enter the zip code here and find that. And if you want one that's backdated, perhaps you're trying to recreate an original statement of loss from an adjuster, you want to see his pricing from back in May or what have you, May of 2018, you can go back and download previous price lists if needed. So a price list is released every month by Xactware, and it's designed by zip code to fit into a regional area. So not every single zip code is going to have its own specific price list. Take, for example, if I just choose city here, I can actually look for Utah. Actually, this is in New Mexico. Excuse me. We are in New Mexico there. Okay. And we can drop down the city, and you can see there's only, because New Mexico is not very populated, there's only 7 areas in New Mexico that they have chosen to create regions by the zip code. So I like to give you as much information on so that you know about these things, but that way you can make an educated decision on what you need to do either by date or by zip code. I would definitely rely on the zip code to find those regions. I wouldn't recommend going and trying to find the region yourself. So that's a big note that you want to make. Just let it use its zip code and it will auto-fill the region for you. So I'm going to go ahead and download that price list, and that should come in. There we go. I'm in Roswell. So Alamogordo, New Mexico falls in the Roswell jurisdiction. Interesting. So there I can choose that price list on the list, left click OK, And I will go ahead and choose the tax rate. I'm going to choose a random one because I don't know Roswell's, but you can go and Google it whenever you don't know your tax jurisdiction. Go Google the sales tax for that area, and it comes up for pretty much every municipality in the country. Now you're asking yourself, why do I have two price lists here? One's a checkpoint price list and one's a regular price list. Well, the checkpoint price list is a read-only price list that cannot be changed. So you adjusters out there, you're going to have a file reviewer, a file examiner looking over your work, or possibly going through exact analysis and checking what's going on. So the checkpoint price list cannot be changed. The regular price list, however, lies on top of the checkpoint price list, and it can be changed. You can make price changes, no problem, but it will send up a red flag that something's been changed and has deviated from the checkpoint price list. So that's why you have two here. That's the way the programmers designed the program. As a contractor, you never really need to worry about this because you don't have to, send this up to a file reviewer like the adjusters do. But just so you know what's going on, that's why you've got two price lists there sitting for you. And they should always match, by the way. Then your tax jurisdiction, just drop that down if you need to change it. Maybe I need 6.833 instead. That's fine. You can make that change there. This middle section is not something I'm going to go into. That's more intermediate advanced things, except for overhead and profit. So if you're acting as a general contractor out there, you do want to add your overhead and profit to the entire estimate as a GC. Xactimate line items only include overhead and profit for subcontractors. If you are the umbrella and you're overseeing the subcontractors, there's not any overhead and profit worked into the system for you, and you must add it as a blanket here to the estimate. And I have a whole video separately on that topic. I'm not going to go into the arguments when you should be paid O&P or any of that. I'm just showing you how to use the program. That is the purpose of this video. Next, you've got your company headers, your opening statements. If you're an adjuster, all of these will be pre-filled for you. If you're working for a third-party contractor, these also might be filled out for you. If you are a contractor you're the business owner and you don't have a company header or opening statement, I also have another YouTube video on that. That's going to go a little bit farther than I want to go here for writing a basic estimate in Xactimate. All right, so that is the claim info part of the program. Over here on the left-hand side, they call this a ribbon. They call this menu the ribbon. So we're in the claim info section, claim info ribbon. We're going to move over to estimates here. In the estimate part of the estimate, they have 3 tabs at the top. Now, these used to be tabs. They're kind of just areas now, but you've got sketch, estimate items, and then right now I have exact contents. I believe everybody has this right up here, but we're going to ignore exact contents. I'm not a contents adjuster, and most of you probably aren't either. If you are, then they do have contents specific training that you can go to. But this video is specifically for just, your regular residential or commercial loss to the building, not the contents that are located inside. Those of you who don't know the definition of contents, basically you took a structure, turned it upside down, shook it, everything that fell out would be contents. And most contractors, most adjusters don't adjust the contents. There are some things that go into the gray area, like appliances and things like that. Of course, I'm not going that far into this video. I'm kind of talking more about contents than I need to, but we're going to ignore this little guy right now. I currently do not use that at all. So just to clarify, we're going to start with sketch. And the most common thing you're going to sketch in Sketch usually is a room. If you're an adjuster, if you're a contractor, you might be sketching some roofs and exterior. I have a lot of roofing and exterior contractors that use this. I've got other videos on how to sketch a roof. So I'm actually just going to concentrate on the room. Now, the theory of how Xactimate is created is you're supposed to build a room here in Sketch, and then you're going to go ahead and place line items, labor, and material into that room over an estimate item. So that's just theoretically how the program is built. You build an area here in Sketch, you put the labor and material and attach those line items over in the estimate items screen. So that's how I'm going to use this area today. And I'm going to follow Xactware the way that they have designed it. There are ways to break those rules. And of course, I've got tons of YouTube videos on how to break the rules, but let's just keep it basic and follow the workflow from Xactware for today anyways. So I'm going to go up to the room, and notice when I hover, there is a little pop-up that pops up that says room with R in the parentheses. R in the parentheses is the shortcut for room on my keyboard. So in actuality, I could just tap R and a room would come attached to my cursor. I actually want to clear my cursor. I don't want to place a room at this moment, so I can use the escape key, and that will clear the cursor, clear the room from my cursor. So R, room, escape, clear the room. There is a drop-down box next to room. I want you to ignore that for now. That's, again, more advanced stuff that you can really get into some trouble. No need to think about it right now. We're just going to do the basic room sketch. Okay, so I've got my room attached. Notice that it's in dotted lines. That means it's in what's called a ghost image, and it's not active yet. I cannot dimension this room at all. It's just hugging my cursor. So to go ahead and place the room and make it active, we're just going to left-click once. And that will allow the room to come in and be blue. It has some handles. That's what these boxes are called. They're called handles. They move the walls in the room. And then you've got these little diamonds on the corners. I want us to ignore diamonds. They can get us into some trouble. They're actually vertexes. Yikes. So we're going to go ahead and ignore the diamonds for now and just use the blue boxes or handles. These handles are used to resize the room, and the way that it works is you use the handle that's catty corner to the dimension. So if I have the 12 here and I want to make this 16 feet, I do not use that handle. This is something that I had to overcome when I was first living in Xactimate. It probably took me about a week to figure out, oh, I don't use this handle to affect the 12-foot dimension. I use the one that's catty corner over here. So if I click on this handle, you'll see that the arrow comes up that shows that this wall is going to move and that I can affect the 12-foot dimension here. So the easiest way to resize a room or a roof is just to left click, hold, and drag that square, that handle out. We're going to go to 16 feet. That's the easiest way to get started, is to left click, hold, and drag. However, it's a little bit difficult to arrive at a dimension sometimes. I have a kind of a squirrely mouse hand, and there's a better way of doing it. So let's go ahead and talk about getting this to 8 foot wide first, and then I'll show you the trick on how to make this a little bit easier. So since I want to affect 8 foot dimension here, I would use the handle that's catty corner. I could also use the northern handle. I'm going to grab the southern one here, and I'm going to left click, hold, and drag that up to 8 feet. Now notice I get it right in there, and it likes to bump to 7-11. Now I pull it down, oh, we're back to 8-2. It's just not a very efficient way of sketching. You can, as a beginner, this is the easiest way to get started, but I find that learning the intermediate way of doing this right off the bat will help set you up for good sketch skills in the future. So what I would have you do is click on the handle first, then click on the dimension and just type in 8 apostrophe. Hit the enter key, and that will size you to directly whatever size you enter into that dimension. So again, don't use the handle right next to the dimension because that's going to activate the length in this case. And don't use the handle that's opposite. That's also going to affect the length. It's the one that's catty corner. So right here, let's say I want it to be 17 feet. I would highlight the wall first. So click on the wall. Then the dimension comes up in blue, and I can click on the dimension and type in, what did I say, 17 apostrophe, let's say 3, 17 foot 3. So I'm separating my dimensions by an apostrophe. That way I get 17 foot 3 inches whenever I hit my enter key. I'm speaking Xactimate's language by using this 17 apostrophe 3 inches. So I don't have to put the 3 quotation marks for inches. I just have to use the apostrophe. Let's change this from 16 over back to, let's say, 11 foot 6. So I'm not going to use the handle here. That was the hardest habit to break. I'm going to use the one that is catty corner. So left click on that handle, left click on the dimension. Let's go to 11 apostrophe 6. Hit my enter key. And there you can see we've got 11 foot 6 by 17 foot 3. Now, a couple of scary things can happen to you if you're a beginner and you haven't used Sketch before. When you click outside the room or the roof or whatever you're working on, your dimensions go away. They disappear until you click back on the room that you're working on. And this can get a little frustrating. So just remember that if you can't see your dimensions, you just need to go ahead and highlight whatever you're working on and they will pop up again. Also, I find it useful to introduce the zoom tools at this point because if you're working on things and possibly you go and grab another room for some reason and you drop it way over here and you're working on this room now and you're dimensioning it and working on it, but oh man, where did my other room go? There's something called zoom to extents, which is shift minus, that will pull this up and show you everything that's being worked on. So zoom to extents is down here. These are all of your zoom tools that you can use. But that's one I want you to write down. Shift and the minus key will bring up everything you're working on. Like, oh, there's my living room. What is this room doing? I can just delete that off. So I can right click and delete this bad room and go back to the living room. And I can shift minus. All right, so those are some tips there just as a beginner. I know it's a lot of information, but that will help you get a good grasp on Sketch here in the beginning. Also, you will want to go ahead and name your rooms, because when you first add the room here, it is named room 1. And if you continue to add rooms, it's going to be room 1, room 2, room 3. You get the idea. And when you go to add the items and the labor and materials, you won't know which room is what. So you need to designate that here in Xactimate. So everything has properties. And first of all, we could go and highlight the room and go to the properties, which is the hand hovering over the piece of paper in the top right corner. And we could rename the room here. Notice when I start to type, Xactimate wants to autofill or, give me a suggestion. And I do want to take these autofilled areas here. I want to take that name and go ahead and just hit enter to accept it, because those rooms, let's try bedroom. Let me just show you here. If I start to type bedroom, it will autofill. These autofills actually come with settings later on. If I was to put kitchen here, I could drop in kitchen specific items with a macro that Xactimate has created. So start off with good habits here and let it autofill. Now I understand sometimes you have weird things like maybe man cave. That's fine. There's not going to be a man cave here in Xactimate, and you may have to name them something specific. But for the most part, let's try to go ahead and stick with the autofill that Xactimate has. So we can go ahead and rename there living room. Another option to rename your rooms is just simply to click on the room name in the middle there, and we can go ahead and change this to whatever we'd like and let the autofill happen there on the label. So properties is a great place to do it. There's a lot of things that you can do with properties in Sketch. As you get more advanced, you're going to find more reasons to access the properties. But if it's easier for you just to click on the label and rename it, that's fine too. So now that we've got a master bedroom with 11'6", 17'3", that's a nice large master bedroom. Let's go ahead and add some doors and then some windows. So up here at the top, you've got a doorway and you've got a windowway or window tool. So D for door, W for window. So I'm going to tap D on my keyboard. That's going to add a door to my cursor. And I'm going to left click on the wall like that to drop the door. Notice that it comes in as 2'6". Your default might be 3 foot. It just depends on your background properties that you have set up. But you can see that's 2'6" wide there for the door opening. Notice that I have the door highlighted in blue. I can go to the door's properties. So if I need to make it wider, I can do that here. If I need to make it different height for whatever reason, I can. You can also change the style, which is fun. We can make it a bifold, sliding, whatever you want in the room. However, remember, all you're doing is cutting a hole in the wall with your door. You're not setting a door line item. We're just removing the square footage. So that's the other issue in Xactimate. Usually the properties are set up for you to not deduct the door. So if you'll notice here in the properties of the door, it says deduct door no. Depending on whether you're an adjuster or a contractor, yet maybe you do need to go ahead and say deduct door yes. And then it'll say yes if it's greater than 0, which is most common. But there's some carriers that'll say if it's greater than, 25 square feet, then we need that opening deducted. If not, no problem. It's part of, painting the room or what have you. So this can get very specific, and again, kind of going into intermediate area here, but I need you to know these things so that you can do your job well. If you're an adjuster out there in the field, this will come up. If you're a contractor, I believe most contractors leave this set to no, unless it's a really wide opening and it seems more reasonable to go ahead and put it to yes. Just know where to find that deduct door, and you'll find it in the deduct window properties as well when we get to a window. But lots of options here, but as a basic estimator, you're just going to be adding your doors and then maybe deducting them, and that's about it. So you can also affect the door's width out on the sketch, and you can zoom in here to see those specific area. And I can click on that door and just type in 3 apostrophe if I need to change it. I can do it on the sketch as well as here in the properties. Okay, so just want to give you some options. What's easier for you? You can go ahead and run with it. Same thing with the window. I'm going to tap W on my keyboard, and here's a window that's going to come in. I can either change the width here to 4 foot, 4 apostrophe, or I can go into the window properties and make it 4'6" if I want to, 4 apostrophe 6. Also, there's all these fun little options that you can see. You've got your shape. You can make this a round arch, all kinds of fun things that you can take a look at. The type of window, again, it doesn't really matter. We're just accounting for the square footage being removed. We're not adding a line item. Okay, so I want to make sure that you know that when you add a window or door in Sketch, it's just taking away. If the settings are set to deduct, it will take away that square footage. Otherwise, you're just setting some fancy things on the sketch that look fun. It's really not doing anything at all. So just want to clarify that. Also, if you ever wonder what a dimension means here in the properties, like what is the base height? Oh, it's the distance from the window from the floor, that where the window starts in the wall. That can be important. If you have a very tall window and your room is 8 foot, and you need your window maybe to be 7 foot. It's, 70s home has these weird, funky, tall windows that are set really close to the floor. Your 7-foot window won't set in a base height of 3 foot. You would need to lower this, to maybe 6 inches or something like that in order to account for the height of that window, which might not meet code. I won't go into all of that, but, it can be kind of tricky if you don't know that there's a base height and you're trying to add a tall window. So be sure to know what all of these properties mean, and Xactimate tries to help you by showing you these little slide out diagrams that will come into play whenever you highlight a window property, or even if we go back over to the door. To close the properties is really easy. You just click outside into blank space, and I can go back and select my door, go to the properties, and you can see here again the height, base height, door swing. It tries to define these things for you. So that's very nice little diagrams that will pop out in any of the areas of a property. So that's pretty cool. Know that again, once I click outside, I lose all my dimensions. I click back on the room and you'll get your dimensions back. However, you won't see your windows or doors unless you click on them, which is just the way Xactimate works. So that's that. All right, anything else I can think of here? I believe that's everything. Just remember you can click on things and edit them at any time. Remember that your handles in your room do not affect the wall right next door. They've got to be the caddy corner wall that will affect the dimensions. That's the main learning curve that I've seen while teaching people and myself have experienced. It can be very hard to overcome, but just work at it and lots of practice in Sketch. The more practice you can get, the better. Another common question I get asked is, why is it 11'6" on the interior and 12'2" on the exterior? Well, if we click on the room and go to the properties, you'll see that the walls on either side of this room are 4 inches thick, giving an extra 8 inches to the exterior of the home dimensions. Most of us, when we measure on the interior of the home, so that's why I work with interior dimensions for the most part. If I was just doing a footprint of a home, I might work off the exterior dimensions, but that's very uncommon that we work with exterior. So that will tell you why there's an 8-inch difference there. 8-inch difference is the 8 inches for the 2 4-inch thick walls. So that's what you're getting there. One more thing in Sketch before we leave and go add our labor and materials. I want you to know about the undo button. Undo is your best friend while you're learning Sketch, and you can undo up to 5 times. That is something that's very useful. And of course, the shortcut is the same across Windows, which is Control Z. So I can undo by hitting Control Z. If I make some weird mistake, like accidentally adding 2 doors on the same wall, well, I could go ahead and Control Z to remove one of those. So I'm just actually going to remove both. So that's a big help has been the undo tool, and I think you'll find that helpful. Okay, so that is our master bedroom. Let's go over to estimate items at the top of the screen. So we built a space here in Sketch, and we're going to place line item labor materials into that space here in estimate items. So first of all, you're going to have 3 windows in estimate items. You've got your grouping window, your search window, and your quick entry window. I'm going to start with the grouping over here to the left. This is important. You must have whatever space you're working in, the home highlighted here, or else you're going to be adding labor materials to the whole home, and that can get very confusing very quickly. So make sure that you have your room highlighted, and you may have multiple rooms whenever you get into multiple room sketches. It can be a little bit confusing, so be sure to have your correct room highlighted before adding the labor materials. I accidentally double clicked on my master bedroom, so therefore I get a nice little sketch preview. I'm just going to go ahead and close that. I get a little click happy when I'm teaching here. Okay, so we've got the master bedroom highlighted. Next, we're going to go up to our search window and let's add some paint. So as I start to type paint, Xactimate tries to give me some suggestions. Oh, paint one coat. Notice there's a V next to paint one coat. V is what's called a variable. So this is a very average line item, and you can be manipulated. It's one of the most common line items. When you see that V, it means we can do some fun things with it using what's called variables. So don't let that throw you. We're going to go ahead and select paint one coat. It's going to drop that line item down here onto our line item list, and the quick entry screen, you'll see that a line item list will start to be built. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to highlight that line item so we can take a look at what's going on with this guy. And you'll see here in the calculator field, it's automatically taking the walls and ceilings from our sketch and applying that square footage of 658.38 to the paint line item, which is 55 cents per square foot. And it's coming up with $362.11. So that is how you're going to see your estimate be built. You just add line item by line item. Look at your calculator field here, and that is the V that I talked about, which is called a variable. A variable is W for wall. Another variable is C for ceiling. You can combine your variables for WC, making it walls and ceiling. So you can see here also the description says walls and ceiling, which is fun. It's auto-filled that for us. If you want some more options for your variables to take a look at what else you can paint, you can go and open the calculator, and you'll see here what can be defined. So we can actually see C is the square foot of ceiling, F for floor. I don't know why you want to paint the floor, but hey, you can do that if you'd like. Square yard, SY, and then you've got your WC. So if I change this just to the walls, I'm just going to use a W, left click OK. Notice that it changes your description to paint the walls one coat. So it's dependent on what is in the calculator. It'll also change the description to whatever you have as a variable in your calculator. So again, kind of intermediate stuff, but this is what's going to make you a great estimator in the long run if you start to learn these concepts in the beginning. Now that I have my labor and material added here, I've checked my calculator, making sure that that is the area I want to paint. I do want to let you know that you can click for detail to see what's included in paint. Notice that there's no masking in paint. So click for detail is going to be your best friend in learning what's included and what's not in Xactimate. And that's one of the biggest hurdles, is to know, what do I add? What do I add, a brush here? Do I need to add a roller pan? What do I add? Well, no, you go to your click for detail and you take a look at what is included here and what, we need to add or what is missing, or what is included in the line item. So stuff like labor, where painters frequently remove switch and outlet cut plates. This kind of stuff is important so that you don't go add D&R the plates. However, you may need to add D&R a ceiling fan, because that's a little bit more intense than just unscrewing a plate from a wall, and may require an electrician if it was like a heavy duty chandelier or specialty custom fixture. You may not want the painter doing that work. So you click for detail is going to be your best friend in learning Xactimate and what's included for the line items. So now that I'm very happy with this line item that I have here, I'm going to left click OK to accept that line item. And I'm going to go ahead and go up to the search, and I'm going to search for drywall. So notice that I left click OK from this line item, going back and highlighting it. Left click OK every single time, guys, because if you leave this in the quick entry and then go search for another line item, it may replace it. And that can be so frustrating when you think, oh, I've got my paint added already. No, you just replaced it with the drywall line item because you didn't click OK. Okay, so always, me as a seasoned estimator, I left click OK every single time because I get so frustrated when I replace line items when I forget. So be sure to left click OK to accept your line items on every single one that you're working with. So with the drywall, I'm going to use this 1/2 inch drywall. and just left click once, and that's going to add it to my line item list down below. Click on that, and now we can go ahead and edit this. And we're just going to put the drywall on the ceiling. Okay, so I'm going to change the calculator field here. I don't have to open up the calculator. I can just type C for ceiling right there. Now what's included? Do we have the mud? Do we have the nails or grabber screws? What are we using here? We go to click for detail, and there we go. You've got your whole definition of what is included here as the drywall removal and replacement. So I'm not going to belabor that too much, but you get the idea. We can always click for detail and take a look at what's included. Now, there's a lot that goes on in line items. Again, I'm trying to keep this pretty basic. So if you want more information, you can search my YouTube channel for, what's the activity codes? How do we change pricing? All that stuff is on my YouTube channel, and you can take a look there and search for those videos. So I'm going to keep this pretty basic. So I'm going to left click OK to accept that line item, and I've changed my calculator field to C for ceiling. Now, most of you contractors out there probably you're banging your head against the wall. You can't just paint one coat. Okay, fine. Let's go back and we'll affect that line item, no problem. So I can go back to my paint one coat, and we actually should probably seal and paint, and that's where I can change my category and selector code, or I could go up and just search for seal and paint. That would be fine, but I'm just going to change my selector code from P for paint to SP, seal and paint. Drop down this list next to your selector code, and you can also search here as well. If that's way too much information, just go search up here and add the correct line item. Okay, seal and paint, seal, prime, then paint, 2 coats. See the V for variable? That's our friendly line item with our variables. And I can just go back and delete this other guy off the list. So whatever is your style, however you're going to start to learn. If searching's more fun, more easy for you, not fun, just easier to get through your day, use the search. If you want to branch out and start to learn the selector codes, which is where you're going to get very quick in this program, then use your selector codes. All right, so we are going to paint the walls and ceiling. I'm going to paint the walls and ceiling to match the drywall that we're doing on the ceiling. And we can get into semantics here. Maybe you should only seal the ceiling and then paint one coat the wall. We could get into all the semantics, but here what I'm trying to do, guys, is show you how to add line items. So go to your guidelines if you're an adjuster and see what the carrier projects for you to use in these instances. Contractors, you write this the way that you would do it if it was your repair and just was typical for what you would do in the field. I'm going to left click OK to accept those 2 line items, and we're looking pretty good. All right, so we would continue to add the labor and materials needed to complete the repair. You might need to clean carpet. You might need to remove the carpet while the, DNR the carpet, or not DNR, remove and replace the carpet, excuse me. Those kinds of things, you would just throw all the line items in here, and that would be completing your estimate. So I'm not going to belabor this too much. You would build out your whole scope here, and then you would be finished and ready to make this a completed estimate. So we're going to go over to photos. So if you had any photos you needed to have included, you would go here and go to load images and load those guys up. I don't have any that I can really show you today, but you get the idea. Go in there and play around and load those images, and take a look at that. Now we're going to go over to documents and get that PDF estimate out of Xactimate. So when you go to reports, most common whenever you get in here, if you drop down the list next to reports, you commonly have the abbreviated report that comes in as the basic setup whenever you download Xactimate. I do not like the abbreviated report. No insurance carriers use it. So if you're a contractor writing, I think you should write the same type of report as the adjuster so you can look at them side by side, apples for apples. So, and if you're an adjuster, then you just need to be writing this report usually anyway. So we're going to drop down the list next to report. We're going to choose final draft with/without removal depreciation. See that there? It's a mouthful. Final draft with or without removal depreciation. That's the most common report type used in the industry, and we want to go ahead and be most common with everybody. So we're going to go down and we're going to view a preview of our PDF of what the report's going to look like, or if you're going to print this in paper, this is what your report would look like. It shows you a mini sketch here. You can see your door and window. It'll tell you the square foot of the walls, all the other fun things. One of the most important pages, I think, is your RCV value, your replacement cost value. That's what it's going to cost for this repair. Also notice I have overhead and profit on these line as a GC. I'm overseeing a sub, so I've got the overhead and profit on there. I'm not going to argue that in this video. I'm just showing you where to go to add it. So remember, we added the overhead and profit, 10% overhead, 10% profit over in parameters in Xactimate. So not here to argue or, prove or disprove. I'm just telling you where you can go to find it. If you need to change it, it's over in your parameters. And then we go down to the very last page here that I have, and that's going to be our sketch. As you create, multiple room floor plans and get more complex with this, it will show you all the rooms here as a floor plan in the sketch, which is great. So I'm going to go to the top left corner. I'm going to go to File, go to Exit, and close that Print Preview. So we're back here at the report screen. You'll see here, View was our preview. Print would print a paper type report. I don't want to do that most of the time. I'm attaching this to an email to send over to the adjuster. So I'm going to go to Export PDF File. If you click Email PDF File, it's really irritating if you don't use Outlook, because it's going to pull up Outlook and it's going to say sign in or sign up for Outlook. And it's like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? So most commonly we'd use Export PDF File, and then it will just allow you to go ahead and pull up your wherever you're going to be saving this to a folder or whatever, and name this in a way that you can find it and save it as a PDF. And that is how you create your first report in Xactimate. And I'm super excited that you guys were here with me, and we got through it, it's really not that difficult once you understand the flow. We start at claim info, we start at the sub tab and just go through. Then we move to the estimate. We start at the first sub tab and we just move through. And then we go down, add our photos, get into our documents, print our report, and our job is done. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I threw some intermediate stuff in there. I hope I didn't confuse you too badly. Be sure to comment below with any questions that you have. I monitor this channel all the time, and I love answering any questions that you may have that came up as you went through this tutorial. Also, I'd appreciate it if you liked this tutorial. Please press the like button below and share with anyone you know that can use this information. That's like gold for me here on YouTube, and it really helps our channel and helps us promote what we do. My name is Alena Wilson with Xactimate Mastery. I usually train contractors how to use Xactimate, but I hope some of your adjusters got some good information out of this X1 walkthrough as well. And like I said, any comments you have, place them in the comments section below, and look forward to seeing you on my channel. Take care.